So, good morning, everyone. We'll begin with the reflections on universal well-being. May abiding well-being in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abiding well-being in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action, and inherit its results. The future is born from such action, companion to such action. The results will be their home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts there will be the heirs. So, good morning again. If you've been following our morning reflections, 2 mornings ago I said that maybe I'd share some of the stories of this process of becoming a monastic. In a sense of the theme of this 3 months is actually kind of learning to let go. We sometimes use the word renouncing. And I thought, okay, so maybe I'll share some stories. And last time I shared about kind of my discovery that I wanted to become a monk. And I shared something that Jin-Chuan Shi a little bit teased me afterwards, which was, oh, you went to your dance. And so I thought, oh, okay. Definitely this was actually part of the process of learning to maybe see the world in a different way. But, as I mentioned, this maybe in, I think, middle school, or either 7th or 8th grade. Say, the first dance actually with somebody else. Before that, me and my friends, you'd go to these dances because it's a little bit social pressure. You're supposed to go to be like part of the school. But we were pretty awkward guys. So, you have suits on and everything, but the guys are sitting on one side of the room, the girls sit on the other side of the room. And I remember we just go off and play basketball. We'd go to the basketball court and shoot hoops. And that was our way of going to school dances. But I remember that first time, and then kind of that sense of, you could say, being an adolescent, teenager during that phase. But what I wanted to particularly share was, I remember in junior year, it was actually Junior Prom. And, I went to, I'm not sure where it was. In my kind of year, my class, we had a kind of, our president was very organized. And so he planned these very elaborate class parties. So it might have been like on a yacht even, or some pretty fancy place. I remember going with, somebody that I knew pretty well. And, for the guys, you go get tuxes, you have to dress up. And then, of course, the girls also dress up, makeup, the whole 9 yards, very fancy. I think we even had like a limo. You could go limo, you go. And So I remember going to this dance, and then it was a pretty wonderful time. At that time, it was much less socially awkward. And I remember coming back to, we actually went with two pairs, two of us, and we came back to my other friend's house together, and we just stayed in their home. They had a fairly large home in Saratoga, and I remember we were just in the basement and we watched some movies, and it got pretty late, because if you come back from the dance, it's already probably 11, 12 or something. And so it was pretty late, and I think people just generally fell asleep. And I remember, I guess just kind of really recalling this experience of trying to, on this path to monasticism. I remember around 4 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m. in the morning, I woke up, and I was sitting there, and the girl I was with, and then the other couple was there. And I remember sitting there and having this pretty deep reflection, feeling, is this it? Is this it? This is kind of like if you look at these movies for like teenagers, it's like, this is like, go to the dance, you have a beautiful girl, you're in a fancy place, and it's like, that's like the high point in life. I remember just sitting there going, is this it? I was like that for maybe, I don't know how long. And of course around 4 or 5 a.m., the girl's makeup isn't as beautiful. The hair is the same. It's kind of maybe a little bit less organized or kind of attractive. And I remember just sitting there just reflecting, is this it? And, probably 6, 7, we kind of more or less woke up. I don't know what was time, maybe 7, 8. I drove the person I was with back home, wished her well. And I came back home. I think my mom trusted me quite a bit, because I realized my mom didn't stay up late. Like, how come you didn't come home? I don't even know my mom knew that I stayed out all night. But I came back. But that was like a deep question in my heart going, is that it? Is that what life's about? And I was actually reflecting. I think that was actually a pretty important moment on why I became interested in monastic life, or when I saw that video, I had such a deep connection to it. Because you could say the kind of story that we were often told, at least where I grew up as a young man, you find maybe your soulmate or your perfect match, beautiful, attractive, successful, and it just felt like there's got to be something more than this. And so I was reflecting a little bit on it this morning, just sitting on kind of where I'm now, kind of wearing monastic robes. So the tux became a precept sash. The monastery, you could say, it becomes a place of spiritual friends.
Constant party.
It's a constant party. A constant party. True, actually. I actually do feel it's actually like a constant party. I woke up 4 a.m., morning ceremony, and sitting here, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., silent forest. And honestly, there was actually a deep joy in the heart. Honestly, it's incomparable with that, sitting there with all the successes, you could say, that can come from the world. I was reflecting, what does it maybe compare to, this kind of peace and happiness being in the monastery, or to say cultivating the spiritual path? And the first analogy that came to mind is the happiness that comes when you know both your parents are alive and healthy and happy. It's something often invisible, but when that's there, there's just something in the heart that is at peace, that feels, And so being here in the monastery, there's that feeling of, I've had a chance to be with good friends. You could say be in a real sanctuary, a place for spiritual practice and growth. And being part of you could say the lineage of sages. I'm definitely not a sage, but I get to be a sage wannabe. Get to wear the robes, have the hairdo, live the same lifestyle, do the same practices that they've created for centuries, if not millennia, if not for eons, since this whole spiritual lineage began. And it's just this feeling of, wow, actually this isn't just it. There's a peace and happiness, but having learned the Dharma, I know that this just deepens layer by layer as the kind of covers of my own craving and lacking and kind of falseness slowly begin to fall away, slowly begin to melt away. And it just unfolds layer by layer. And so I was just reflecting on that thing. That's actually, I think, an important part on the spiritual path, is actually seeing that in this world, it's not to say that there's not a lot of happiness that can be found in wholesome relationships, even in parties, with good friends. But I think in the spiritual path, it's not to overlook that there's something very deep there. A place where we find a kind of inner stillness and well-being that's actually literally not of this world. Not attached to my senses, to my identity. And I think that's actually the deeper joy and happiness we're following, which makes this path, as Jin-Chuan Shi said, a constant party. So maybe just some of those reflections for this morning. Of course, for those online, I'm not encouraging you to become monastic, or if you wish to be, there is that path available. But I think it's not to say that actually living in the world we can't find happiness, but to say actually really value this spiritual path. It's something that gives a joy that we might not see in the beginning, but as we begin to taste its flavor, we realize the world's joys pale in comparison. Okay, so maybe just that much for this morning, and we do 3 steps, 1 bow.